Greetings, free thinkers, and welcome to the Hodcast. Okay, on this episode of the Hodcast, we're going to look at what has happened to the Labour vote over the last 10 years and go into why, as you can see on your screen, over the last 10 years, this is from the start of the decade to the end of the decade, why the Labour vote has completely dried up. They abandoned the working class. They promoted woke, progressive, left-wing liberalism. They supported anti-Semitism. They completely disavowed the working class and all of the issues that they faced over the last generation, not just the last 10 years, but it's taken this long to catch up. So we'll go into that. We'll also look at Naz Shah, who actually kept her seat in Bradford West in the recent general election. Remember, she is the Muslim woman who stated in a tweet that the grooming gang victims that have spread all across the United Kingdom should, quote unquote, shut up for the good of diversity. So we'll jump into that as well, but first, by all means, if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, give the video a like and share it, because that really helps this channel grow. Okay, let's get into the video. Okay, so getting into the video. Now, here at the start of the decade, 2010, you can see that in the Midlands, which is around here, and these are the Labour heartlands here, the north of England and the north east, we have around Durham and Newcastle area. These have always been traditionally Labour areas. They've always been that way since the formation of the Labour Party over 100 years ago. Now, looking over here, 10 years later, it has completely disappeared. The vote has vanished. Now, there's a number of reasons for this. Largely because the Labour Party have completely disavowed the working class that has provided them with the life of luxury that Labour Party members and Labour Party MPs have become accustomed to for far too long now. Their working class roots were long ago abandoned, and all of the main issues that affect working class areas that the Labour Party and their advisors, who are woke, progressive, middle class millennials, they just have no concept of it. Like, for many a time, up until only quite recently, the Labour Party and their advisors and just the whole Labour Party political machine refused to acknowledge that Muslim grooming gangs even existed. They refused to acknowledge that these were even a thing. They were forced to do that after the Rotherham scandal, which was actually a nationwide scandal. Grooming gangs have blighted all of England and Wales. The only place we don't find these grooming gangs are, strangely enough, places where there are no men that are of this community. There you don't find any grooming gang activity, or, strangely enough, no terrorism. And little drug trafficking, etc, etc. Now, if we look here, this is all Yorkshire, Liverpool, Manchester, the Labour heartlands that were coal mining areas, very industrial areas throughout the late Victorian and early modern era. And they held the Labour Party vote up until now, really. Their vote has collapsed. They have abandoned the working class, and the working class have abandoned Labour. But interestingly enough, there are some areas in which the Labour Party hold on, and you'll see that they are all heavily urbanised areas. Now look down here in London. Labour London, Labour London. And if you look 10 years ago, it almost seems as if some of the London suburbs were more conservative, but then they became more left-wing liberal. If you look here, the little red smudge is much more denser here than it is there. And this is because places with very high levels of immigration and places where a lot of asylum seekers have settled, they generally tend to vote Labour because it means more of the same thing. Whereas you see areas that have had some significant levels of migration but have also felt a very negative impact because of that, they vote now Conservative. My area is around here. We did have a Labour MP up until recently, but she actually got sent to prison for perverting the cause of justice. She lied in court. She tried to blame a Russian man. She's a black woman, and she tried to blame a white Russian man for driving her car illegally, when in actual fact it was her who was driving the car. Now, you'll see up in Scotland, they did used to have the Labour vote, but now they've lost it almost entirely. Look, no Labour. Now, the reason why they've lost the vote in Scotland is different to the reason why they lost it in England and Wales. In Scotland, they lost it to a combination of the Scottish National Party, who are a progressive nationalist party which smashes this ridiculous, absurd notion that nationalism is racist, nationalism is white supremacy, because they are Scottish nationals and they are pro this, pro that. They're pro-socialist. They also lost it to the Liberal Democrats, who are, just like the SNP, pro-EU, pro-mass migration, pro-progressiveness, pro-gay marriage in church, pro-woke everything, all the whole shooting match. You know exactly where I'm coming from. And the Labour Party, for whatever reason, have lost their vote in Scotland, largely down to what I've just said. And when it comes to these areas here, the Midlands, the North, people are not stupid. This is something that Labour politicians, not just Labour politicians, but all mainstream media, mainstream media politicians fail to take heed of, is that people are not stupid. These areas are full of people who think and feel and live their lives just like me and you do. And they are seeing something. They are seeing something that the Labour Party is not seeing. Their woke donors, their millennial advisors who have useless gender studies certificates and qualifications and PhDs in romantic comedies and all this rubbish. And they're lucky enough to get a position as a Labour Party advisor. And they seem to be telling the Labour Party upper echelons that what people really want is socialism. And if people say they don't want socialism, they're just too stupid to know that they actually do want socialism. That seems to be the position. But this here, which 10 years later becomes this, tells a completely different story. The blue has carved out, it's eaten away at the red. Because people are sick of it. People are sick of being taken for mugs, and especially this Flashpoint issue, which has been in the news and in current affairs on and off for the last few years now. But as I said, the Labour Party for a long time refused to acknowledge its existence, which is the Muslim grooming gang issue. All of the victims are white working class. And, funnily enough, these areas here, the Labour heartlands, over the last 10 years, have been the area that has seen the most significant activity of grooming gangs. And the victims and their families who appealed to Labour, but guess what? They were told to shut up for the sake of diversity. They were told that they're racist. They're told that they're misinformed. They were told that it's not happening, when they know it was happening because they were the victims. They've seen it. I myself have three cousins. 2 of them are female. They were both victims of grooming gang activity. I live here, around here, near the Wash, and we have it here. It's terrible here. Not only that, it is worth pointing out that areas like Bradford, which have managed to stay Labour and stay red, have very heavy Muslim population areas, such as Bradford West, which actually stayed Labour. It stayed red. Now we're going to get on to Bradford West and the woman who managed to hold on to that seat, who is a Labour Party a woman who, her name is Naz Shah. Now, she has made a number of incendiary comments, from anti-Semitism to anti-white working class racism, and her most insidious comment she made, and if anyone else, if someone like me had said that, I'd be crucified if I was an MP. She said that the victims of grooming gangs should, and I quote, shut up for the good of diversity, which explains the Labour Party mantra down to a T. That is the Labour Party all over. Shut up for the good of diversity. Doesn't matter if you live up here, or down here, or down here, or in London. You shut up for the good of diversity, and that is exactly why over the last 10 years the political landscape of the UK, but especially England and Wales, has gone from this to this. People do not want socialism. We won this debate in the 80s and 70s. You know, there's a reason why a lot of these former socialist, former communist countries westernised. There was a reason for that. So you can see on your screen here, going to Naz Shah, who is the MP for Bradford West, we can see here, now originally what she had done is she had retweeted a spoof account. The spoof account was a bit like the Titiana McGrath account you see on Twitter, which is a spoof account which still a lot of people don't know about, but it is a spoof account designed to not only mock the left but demonstrate just how insane they are. And it does it beautifully, because it's like the "it's okay to be white", I suppose you could call it a meme, but the "it's okay to be white" phenomenon, which, if you haven't heard, I'm sure you probably have, is where someone will put a poster up of, it's just a bland sign with simple writing that says "it is okay to be white", and when the left, predictably, because these always get put up in progressive areas, when the left see it, they just explode and they just melt down. Their Trump derangement syndrome becomes on full display, and they prove that they are the real racists. They prove it again and again and again, because if you're saying that it is not okay to be white, you are obviously the racist. It's as simple as that. And so this was originally a spoof account, which Naz Shah, MP, if you see in your top left, she liked the reply and then retweeted it. And it says, and I'm quoting, "Exactly, Arek. Those abused girls in Rotherham and elsewhere just need to shut their mouths for the good of #diversity. That should tell you all you need to know why the Labour Party have, as you can see, I've left the image down here, their vote has just been obliterated. But that should also tell you, which, strangely enough, is why Naz Shah has kept her seat. Her seat is in a majority Muslim area. Now, the grooming gangs are Muslim. The men that make up these grooming gangs are Muslim. It's just a fact. They voted Naz Shah back in, which is another very worrying aspect of this modern utopia, this multicultural utopia we're told is so good for us. You know? Why was she not fired? Why was she not cast out in the general election? Because they agree with her. The New Statesman is a Labour Party rag, basically. It is full Labour Party. Now, this is dated only a week ago. This is after the Labour Party crash, the complete humiliation, the wipeout. And all of a sudden, they have suddenly, as if out of nowhere, these progressive, anti-working class, anti-English, anti-British and everything traditional about this country, they have suddenly decided that to win again, Labour must embrace radical patriotism. The progressive patriot, which is something you often hear, or starting to hear now on the left. They've suddenly found their patriotism. Imagine that. An inclusive story about our national past is essential to solve the collective problems we face. Rubbish. Just don't. So this is what one progressive, middle class, I know better than you, Labour Party voter advisor said after the catastrophic defeat of the Labour Party in the working class heartlands. Quote, "I can't believe," said the young activist, "anyone who is referred to as a young activist, do not trust anything they say. Running the board, why on earth would they vote against their own class interests? What do you know about my class interests? You're middle class. You probably come from London. What do you know about my class interests? You hate me. You hate everything about me. Yet, now you've seen that your path to power, which is everything you really care about, has been blocked. You've suddenly found your patriotism and now you're going to wave the Union Jack and sing God Save Our Queen and the whole shebang, the whole shooting match. Nah, I'm not buying it. I don't think anyone else is buying it. Anyone stupid enough to buy it only has themselves to blame. And that is about it. What do you guys think? Do you think progressive patriotism will work? Do you think this is something that is going to win over the masses? What do you think about Naz Shah? What do you think about Labour's chances going forwards? I think they're wiped out completely. I certainly hope they're wiped out completely. However, I do believe that the Labour Party will have a resurgence in a generation's time, because the people that are moving to this country are having extremely large families, whereas the native working class have pretty much stopped having children in their entirety. So the ground will go back to Labour eventually, and if nothing changes within a generation, the sad fact is the progressives will be locked into power forever until the eventual and inevitable civil war happens. Thank you for watching. By all means, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell and share this video so I can get some traction, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.